We got Brad Mortensen in the house. Thanks for being on Live Life by Design. And you're coming in all the way from Arizona. How long have you been in Arizona?
I grew up there. Been there my whole life besides my mission. So
Where'd you go on your mission?
I served in Chile.
Chile.
Southern Chile. So
what cities?
I was in Talcahuano, which is near Concepcion. It's like the second largest city in Chile. And then I went all the way down to Loncoche, which is a tiny little city. So my first transfer, I went from the very north area all the way to the southern.
How were the winters? Were they pretty harsh?
Yeah, it was. South? It wasn't. There was no snow, so it was like super cold rain. So did a lot of tracking in the rain. I sprained my ankle real bad playing football, so I had a boot on for a big part. 6-8 weeks. Had a plastic bag over my sock, and then put it in the boot and was running around in the rain. Dude, it was just the best time.
And that's cool. And then going back to Arizona, is it Phoenix, Mesa?
Yeah, we live in Gilbert. So I grew up in Mesa.
Grew up in Mesa. Cool.
Yeah.
And then talk to us a little bit about your family construct today. You got how many kids?
I've got 4 kids. Oldest is 12, a boy, and then 2 girls that are 10 and 7, and then a little boy that's 3.
Yeah. And do you think it's going to keep expanding, or do we think the Mortensens are?
Nah, the Mortensens are, we're wrapped up, dude.
Wrapped up?
Yeah. Yeah, we're rolling with these 4, and they keep us busy. Super fun. So this stage of life is fun. Our oldest is in 6th grade. I feel like once he breaks into junior high, the dynamic will change a little bit.
He looks like he's a senior in high school.
I know. People all the time ask if he's 15 or 16 or.
Do you guys ever get fans or parents on the other side say, "Hey, show me the birth certificate here"?
Yeah, every now and then they'll say something like if he hits a nuke or hits a bomb or whatever, they'll say something kind of chirping like, check his birth certificate, but. It's fun for him to just play his age and just tear it up.
So what keeps you guys busy? Baseball? What other sports?
Baseball. He loves to fish too, so we try to get out. Fishing in Arizona is not the best, so we try to get out to other places. And then our girls do tumbling and cheer.
Tumbling and cheer.
So
are you guys into the thick of cheer or not yet?
No, we don't do like the travel stuff. They just do it
Smart,
locally. We were traveling back from a baseball tournament yesterday, and we saw the cheer girls at the airport, and I was like, man, I'm so glad we're not doing that.
Yeah, we did that for a minute, and it was not fun.
I just can't relate to it, so it's hard to go. It would be hard to go and watch them do a tumbling pass or whatever. And I know it's like difficult, but I don't understand because I've never tried to do it. So baseball's a little different where you can kind of relate.
And then Cheyenne has her career. What does she do career-wise?
So she's mostly a stay-at-home mom, but she's been doing modeling off and on for 15 years. Just people that hit her up online, and she's been working with a few companies steady for about 5 years. So they'll fly us to Utah, or they'll come down from Arizona or from Utah, like the photographers or whatever. And
that's cool.
And so she'll do some modeling.
Nice.
So
and then, hobby. Yeah, love that. Is it a hobby or did you say hobby just now?
Yeah, it's just a hobby. Yeah, just kind of. When it comes, it comes. She doesn't have big contracts or sign them to commit to things. They'll hit her up and be like, hey, we're sending you another box of clothes, 100 items. And so she'll shoot those 100 items and get paid.
What's funny, though, is if it's considered a hobby, chances of her doing better monetarily, financially, with that quote-unquote hobby is quite often better than if she viewed it as a career because it's more forced that way.
Yeah.
So because it's artistry. And that same thing happens with Shamila. Now it's a full-blown career, but it was always done more of as a hobby, as a passion, as a project of love.
Yeah.
And because you're able to do it without stressing the money, it flourishes.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
She loves doing it and enjoys it. So when it comes, it comes.
That's cool.
So it's cool.
And then you have a logo on your hat. Talk to us about what that logo means and what your company does.
Yeah, so the logo, what it represents, it's a boomerang by design to emphasize in life when you put out good things and you take care of your employees, you take care of your people, your family, your customers, that good things will come back to you. And so the logo is bigger than what it, the company that it represents. It's RepCard. It's our software that helps people in the field sales really just leverage their time to ultimately make more money and spend more time with their family. It's kind of our overall mission.
Who came up with the logo?
Me. So just the concept of the booma effect is what we call it. Spent a lot of time making sure it looks like a boomerang and not like a sock or, something else. So, the mission behind that is big to us. We talk about it on every call. It's behind, I've got a big neon boomerang in my office behind me on all my calls. So when it comes up, we like to just share that mission of taking care of your people.
That's awesome.
And good things will always come back.
So the name of the company is RepCard.
Yeah.
And then what year did you guys begin?
We started in 2019. We went to Door-to-Door Con just with like an app that barely had launched. Had no idea what to expect. Had a pretty good response, and I ran it side by side with my door-to-door stuff for about 3 years. And then
So let's go back there. A lot of viewers and listeners don't really understand what you mean by door-to-door and some of the things we're going to talk about. So let's unpack it just a little bit. So what product were you selling? And you were selling direct to home, right?
Yeah, at the time I was doing pest control.
What company were you with?
I was working with Bulwark Exterminating.
I haven't heard from them in a while. Are they still around?
Yeah.
Bulwark?
Yeah, they've been around for about 25 years. And the Seaver brothers that started it, they started in door-to-door and kind of got away from it. But they're probably a $50 million
Is it Arizona-based?
company. Yeah, but they got 25 branches across the country.
But HQ, Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're in Mesa.
And then how did you begin with them? Was it just...
I just kind of got connected from a friend of a friend to one of the owners, to Aaron Seaver.
And then, sorry, what year is this?
That was in late 2015, 2016, somewhere in there.
Okay, got it.
I've been doing door-to-door since 2010, but...
Oh, okay, so let's go back there. So
yeah.
What was your first gig doing?
So I came home from my mission in 2010 and I did pest control that first summer for Vantage. Back then it was called Insight Marketing. And then got into satellite TV sales for 5 years.
With who?
And ran that. I worked with a friend named Danny Pickett, and then linked up with Josh Slider, and we ran
Caliber.
Yeah, he runs Solar Pros now.
Yeah. So you were with Mark Erskine and all those dudes.
It was before Caliber, yeah.
Before Caliber.
Yeah. So it was called. I had a company called Freedom. He had a company called Direct Communications, and then we merged.
You had a company called Freedom.
Yeah.
And now he works for Freedom.
Yeah, but it was a different business. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So we kind of linked up. We both ran a decent sized dealer in Arizona. We linked up.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So you had your own dealership?
Yeah, it was called Freedom Communications.
Okay. And when did you start your dealership? So how soon after you started doing direct to home did you establish your dealership?
So that's when I worked with. Right after that summer of pest, I got into working with Danny Pickett at Freedom Communications. He had started it.
This is 2010.
Yes.
Okay.
End of 2010, and then a year later we became partners, and then a year after that I bought him out.
Oh, okay.
So then I was running it that next year in 2013, and that's when Josh and I connected.
Okay.
And,
okay, so 2013, you're selling Dish and Direct or just Dish?
Both, yeah.
You're dual platform. Cool.
Yeah.
And then you and Josh came together, and then you guys essentially merged.
Yeah, we merged, or we kind of rolled our business up under his, and we changed the name to Driven. And then it was maybe a little over a year later, that we merged with Dish One.
Dish One.
And
that
then
later became
Caliber. And then Josh is now with Solar Pros.
Created Solar
Pros and all that.
That is under the Freedom umbrella.
Yeah.
What a journey. That's cool.
So when we merged with Caliber or Dish One, I left and went back and kept running Freedom, and then eventually got into the Bulwark stuff, doing pest control for another 4 years. Started RepCard during that time, 2019, and then the company was bootstrapped. So I ended up starting a solar dealership.
So hold on, let's talk about bootstrapping. So what does that mean, and how bootstrapped was it, and why did you bootstrap?
I think the entrepreneur mindset in me it's just heavy. Like I'm always wanting to do something. In addition to what I'm doing, and filling any gaps of time that I have, which is not good for your family time. And I've learned that lesson. We can get into that, but just started building this app. I was flying around the country visiting all the different pest control offices. I had 4 offices, and so I would fly and travel and I had some notes on my phone about this app that I wanted to create. So I started designing it, and eventually made like this really cool prototype. And I started showing it to people, and they're like, I would pay for something like that. And it was just a digital business card with some follow-up, and decided to actually start developing it. And so, yeah, I had no idea what I was getting into as far as, all the demands of time and all the testing and the building of the product, and just started paying for developers. And then eventually, you're writing $17,000 checks to the company every month. You're losing money, and you're just like, I just believed in what it could become. And so bootstrapping was just, I wouldn't say it was really by choice, like, hey, I'm going to go bootstrap this thing and grow it. It was kind of like a hobby, and like, I was building it kind of for my own sales team.
Hobby again.
Yeah. Building it for my own sales team.
Sure.
To help out. I had 50, 60 reps doing pest control. And then it just turned into just believing in it more and more and more, to the point where I was like, I can't stop. And then we went to Door-to-Door Con, and it just kept evolving over those 3 years.
Did you set up a booth at Door-to-Door Con?
Yeah, in 2019, that was when we kind of kicked it off, I guess you could say. I showed it to the public, and the booth was crowded the whole time. And so we were like, okay, but I just kept at it for 3 years, and it was only doing like $20,000 a month at the end of 3 years. So nothing crazy. It was kind of on the side. I was running solar.
So now we're in solar.
Because I was in pest control, and Bulwark kind of changed the comp plan, and it made it to where I couldn't run the business like I needed to.
Okay. So what year did you enter solar?
I was in 2019.
2018. Okay.
So the end of 2019, because we went through that summer doing Bulwark.
And where did you do solar?
Just in Arizona mostly. I had a dealership with Titan. And we did that there locally. Did a few things, a few deals out of state, but mostly in Arizona. And that kind of kept active income, just helped fund RepCard. And and then from there, we decided to go full-time with RepCard in 2022.
Okay, love it. So now let's go back. So what problem were you solving in 2018? What was the gap in the marketplace? Like, what caused the creation of RepCard? I get it. It's a digital card, but there's a problem you were fixing. Yeah,
anytime you're in sales, you're meeting someone randomly for the first time, whether it's on the phone or whether it's door-to-door or whatever type of, cold call, whatever it is, or even if it's networking. So you're meeting them face-to-face, but they still really don't know who you are. And especially in door-to-door, where it's a random conversation every single time. No one wakes up like, I'm going to talk to the pest control guy today. I really hope they knock my door.
Yep.
And so it was a way to exchange and get their information in exchange for your business card. And then on your card, it shows your profile picture, your logo, your bio, company videos, and ultimately it shows reviews, personal reviews. And so if you knock a door or meet someone and you send them your card and you've got some type of follow-up meeting or an appointment or a go-back, and they view your card and they engage with your content, you get notified of all those engagements. So it tells you that they're interested, and it also can show them more about who you are without you kind of in their face. And so they get to be more comfortable. So when you go to that meeting or go to that go back, they have more information on what you're about. So it solved a lot of credibility and putting reps in a better position to win more jobs. And then long term, sometimes people don't buy on the spot, and they may see a bug later on. And they're like, dang, we need to get pest control, or someone, there's a break-in down the street, and if they're selling home security, or, that utility bill comes in that's super high, or, they have a roof leak or whatever industry. And if your rep card's sitting in their text messages, they can go back and grab that.
So it's a link in their text message, essentially.
Yeah, versus it being a paper card that they can just toss out.
Okay.
Or pick their teeth with or whatever. We've
got
had funny
it.
stories.
So what's the success rate? I mean, what are the numbers on that? Let's say 6 months after delivery of that text message. What's the open rate? What's the success rate? Do you have stats on that?
We don't have a ton of stats built around that. I think it totally varies on the rep. We've always said like the best closers are the best openers. And so if reps can able to open the conversation good and get to the point where the customer will trust giving up their number for you to send their card, then just the more cards you send, the more kind of like lures you have on the water and the more fish you can catch. But in that first summer, we tracked it a bunch when we were first launching. We had guys that were selling 350 pest control accounts, and about 22 of those came from RepCard follow-ups.
Got it. And then are the majority of your clients individuals or companies or combination of the two?
We have thousands of people that are on the individual plan because you can download the app for free and use the free version for life, and then you can upgrade from there. But our bread and butter is enterprises, companies with 10 users all the way to 1,000 users that leverage it and want to set processes and content inside the platform for their whole business. Because now we don't just do the card, we do text campaigns, we do competitions and leaderboards, canvassing, chat.
Okay, talk to me about competitions because I'm interested in that. So
the chat?
The competitions.
Competitions, okay.
Can you build competitions on RepCard?
Yeah, so you can build rep versus rep competitions, team versus team competitions, or you can do like a free-for-all. So like you take 5 different teams of 20 guys, 100 guys total, and they all compete. And you can have prize distribution built in. So when they win, they earn a prize trip to Hawaii. Second place gets, a Peloton or whatever the prize is. And then if you come in last, there's also punishments. So some people are motivated by hitting first place, but mid-competition, you may be in the middle of the pack or at the bottom end, but you sure as heck don't want to be at the end because you may hit the punishment where you got to sing the Star Spangled Banner in front of your team or, eat a bug or whatever they want you to do. So we keep it fun in there. You can build competitions. You can also do competitions where they can try to achieve different milestones. So they're chasing, milestone 1 and then milestone 2 and 3 and 4. So you can set milestones when you get new reps into your business. They can chase different.
And are the competitions preloaded, like pick from these, or can I get the app and then start building something a little bit more custom with my company?
Yeah, so the competition piece is built on our enterprise package. And once you add in all your statistics, you can add in all your stats and they go into the leaderboard. Then all those roll into the competitions and you can just build a competition in 3 minutes. Add whatever players you want, build whatever teams,
I'm even
and
thinking
deploy it.
that for studio, just for my leasing agents.
Yeah, we can leaderboard whatever stats you want from your CRM and pull that into our database.
Before you leave today, let me have you talk to the team and see what would be useful for us in this arena.
Yeah, typically, like in solar, there's different KPIs for setters than there are for closers. And so in your case, there's those 2 or 3 KPIs that they need to be measured on. And so you put those into a competition and throw out an incentive and you'll...
Yeah, we do competitions every single month.
Yeah. So it'll track it all. And the prize distribution, we're about to launch an integration with a product that will allow you to do gift card distribution to up to 1,000 stores. So you'll give away $500 gift card, and then they can turn that gift card into whatever they want. Nike, Lulu, Amazon, and they can split it up. So when you give away an incentive, like they can truly use it however they want.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's wow. Did you, in 2019 when you incepted, did you ever see or believe or even dream that you would be doing this today full time? Because it went from a hobby to now full time.
Yeah.
As of 2022, and you have all these other things happening within RepCard.
Yeah, I'd say that like the dreamer, the entrepreneur me, like vision that it could happen. I think sometimes I'm a little bit hard on myself, and it leads to maybe a little bit of disbelief. Like you kind of like want it to happen, but you kind of don't believe it can happen, but you kind of are wishful versus it being like, I'm going to go get this, I'm going to go attack this. Sometimes personnel maybe will struggle with that mindset. But as it started to evolve, I really latched onto it, and yeah, it's been crazy to see what it's become. It truly is a product of our users, not our product. We really just listen to the feedback of what people want, and because we were bootstrapped, I think it actually helped us a lot because when you have funding, I think you can go and attack.
That's what I wanted to hit.
All different kinds of projects or missions that you think people want, and you can just deploy resources into a big dev team. And with having limited resources, having to scale the team as we scaled the revenue, it allowed us to really pay attention and to really lean on feedback from our users and develop and deploy what they needed, because we couldn't, we couldn't take the chance on striking out 2 or 3 times in a row. We had to hit base hits and hit the singles and deliver. And so the product has become a beautiful product, but it's really product of our users, and I appreciate them for giving us the feedback and just trusting us.
That's
Ultimately.
awesome. How many engineers do you have?
We have a team of 45 people in India. About 2/3 are engineers, and then we have a QA team that has about 8 people on it, and we have design and some leadership there too. So
Cool.
There's about 25.
HQ
engineers.
sits in Arizona.
Yeah.
You have a big team in India. Any other human resources outside?
We have a
of
few
those two?
people in Utah.
Utah.
Yeah.
Sales people probably.
Ops and sales and marketing.
Got it. And how do you sell and how do you market? Is it mainly going to conferences across the country?
Yeah, marketing's been interesting for us. It's crazy how fast we've grown and where we're at today with not perfecting marketing. We've gone to a lot of events, and I feel like we have a really good product. And in door-to-door, there's a lot of people that move around. And so people use our product. If they leave with their team or their region or whatever, they'll go to a new company. Either they'll start their own company and they just come back and use RepCard, or they'll go to another company and almost demand that, hey, we got to get RepCard. And so that's helped a lot, just by the nature of the industry. But we're figuring out marketing as we speak, to really spend $1,000 and turn it into $5,000. And once we know that, it's going to be really fun. But we've grown tremendously with just word of mouth, referrals, treating people the right way, and going to events.
Love it. And then speaking of events, you helped with the registration at one of my events, the Live Life by Design event, and it was super elegant, super beautiful. My team loved it. In fact, that was our second event that we had run. We used a different registration company, different registration source for the first event, and then we did this one. It was lights out, like completely different, completely more professional, and just loved it. Is that something that you guys, is that a core part of your business, or is it more of just a quote unquote lost leader? How does the whole registration for events thing fall into your business plan?
First of all, a big shout out to Natalie, who's on our team. She's worked with me for 10 years through all the different crazy journeys that I've been down. And that's kind of her baby. She really leads the front on that. So it's turned into a beautiful product. It's kind of a channel of our business that, like you said, it's more of a lost leader. It's not something that generates a ton of revenue for us, but it brings a lot of relationship to our business and a lot of branding as we get into helping Door-to-Door Con or Solar Con, Roof Con, Win the Storm. We've done.
Yeah, so let's pause there. So which events do you do the registration for?
The bigger ones are like Door-to-Door Con,
okay,
the Sam Taggart, and then
that one's usually here in Utah, right?
Yeah, that's in January every year.
Okay,
here in Utah. JCAS runs Solar Con. That one's coming up next week.
And that one's in Vegas,
It's
right?
usually in Utah. They did Vegas this year. And then
you have Tony Robbins going to that one, I think. I heard.
Yeah, he's not coming anymore.
Oh,
so
never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah, scratch.
Keep it in there, but scratch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that announcement, I was like, that's a big ticket. We brought Tony to Vivint, and it took a lot of work and a lot of money to get him.
Yeah, I know. I've heard from other people that tried to get him. It was $600K plus for 2 or 3 hours, and so yeah. And then Josie Parks runs Win the Storm.
Yep.
And then we also do RoofCon. Hunter Ballou runs RoofCon. So those are kind of the bigger ones.
Where's RoofCon?
That's been in Orlando the last 2 or 3 years. I think they're moving it to Dallas this next year.
Really? Why does everybody do Dallas for roofing?
Just because you get a lot of laydowns with all the companies that are there in Dallas, Houston, Austin. Like they can all just travel. So I think you get 1,000 attendees just by having the local guys show up. So I don't know.
Door-to-Door Con in Utah, I guess.
Yeah. It's just getting those numbers. And then we do a ton of smaller events that are 100 to 500 people. Every event we go to, people see the flow of the registration, and they're like, "Hey, I run a small mastermind, or I have an event with 200 people, in a few months in Miami. Can you guys come out there?" And so we do a ton of smaller events throughout the year. Last year, I think we did 25.
Wow.
It kept us busy.
Do you go to all of them personally?
No. Just spread out throughout the team. So our registration setup is kiosk based now. It used to be a lot more humanized, and so now it's kiosk based, and it works really well. So you can take one person and set up 10 kiosks, and they kind of run themselves. You have to be 1 or 2 people there to kind of manage it and adjust if needed, but it allows us to scale that. So if they have 500 or 5,000 people at the event, we can just scale the kiosks and meet the flow of the lines and stuff. But yeah, it's more of a loss leader. but it's been super fun to get to know these teams more intimately, versus just showing up to the event and having your booth.
Yeah, no doubt. And then is there a certain direct-to-home industry that you prefer working with over others? Do you prefer roofing? Do you prefer alarms, pest control? Or are you pretty agnostic to it all?
Our tool is pretty flexible. We just created a way for companies to add custom fields into our platform. So you can create on our platform now whatever you need, versus it just being like what we've built and just serving it to solar or pest control. Like you can now create whatever. So we have real estate agents and all these different industries popping onto the platform. But the ones that can get the most use out of it are ones that are doing a setter closer model, just because of the calendar tool we build is really dynamic. And so they can use our setter closer calendar to really maximize RepCard. But we can really service.
I'm assuming with setter closer, it's mainly going to be roofing and solar, right?
Yeah, Windows. The
Windows as well.
window sales is a very similar model to solar, setter closer.
Does roofing use a lot of setter closer as well?
Yeah, depends. It just depends. I think in roofing it's kind of a 50-50. Some guys just self-gen, knock the door, get on the roof, sign the contingency form, and try to get the claim.
And then to me, it seems like roofing is probably the most fragmented out of all those that I mentioned. It's still very, I don't know. I think some more consolidation is going to be happening there. I mean, you can see solar's being consolidated like crazy.
Yeah. It's just roofing's been around forever. So,
Which is what's interesting. It's been around a very, very long time, and it's still
people
very
do it all
fragmented.
different ways. I think on every demo, it's like people are using all different kinds of CRMs, and they have different processes for it all. But yet they're doing 10 million. They're doing 20. You're just like, how in the world are you doing that much volume with your systems? But they just figure it out. I don't know.
Okay, now let's pivot a little bit out of RepCard, and congrats on your business. Everybody I talk to is absolutely in love with RepCard.
Appreciate
it.
So
you definitely have a lot of raving fans out there, and you definitely have a product that's very much needed, and that people just absolutely adore. So props to you on that.
Thank you.
Let me pivot a little bit into some introspective and retrospective questions for you. And I asked this on the last two shows. I'm going to ask you too. So let's say that, and I don't know if you've heard this question before on any of the shows that I've done, but let's say that I give Brad a box. Okay. Have you heard this one?
No.
Okay. So I give Brad a box, and in this box, you're how old now?
36.
In this box, there's everything that you've lost in your life over the last 36 years. Okay. I give you this box. It's everything that you've lost over the 36 years, like I said. What does Brad look for first?
Time with my family.
Okay. And you mentioned that earlier, so I know it's something that you're working on and something that's maybe, I'll use the word, haunting you. So maybe haunting's not the right word, but I think as entrepreneurs, it messes with all of us, right? How much time have I spent building my business versus being with the family? So why was that your first response?
I've learned over the past 2 or 3 years. I don't know. I've learned how important it is to make sure that your family goals are aligned with your business goals. When I look back and I think about, maybe the time that were missed or this and that, I don't feel so much like, there's definitely time missed, but it was more of an alignment, I think, that I missed with my spouse, with my wife, and then which ultimately, evolves into family time. So I look back and I think, man, like, how could we have been more aligned, which would have led to more family time, more quality time, versus, going on trips and working on the trips. And every time you're out and about with your family, you're still kind of, working on the side, shooting text messages off, taking a quick 5-minute recruiting call that turns into 45 minutes. and really just segmenting that. And so I think a better alignment is kind of the word that just is coming to mind, would have led to that. So it's like time is the result of that, but I look back and go, dang, like she's always been so supportive. And so it's not that like, I look back and I just had to like fight my way to have time to work. She's always supportive of my goals. And I think just aligning more on that. And as I've talked to other, men about this, it's pretty common. And so that's why that's top of mind, because I've been very, very focused on this for 3 years.
You've been focused on the alignment piece.
Yes.
For the last 3 years. And then do you have any best practices for us on what's worked for you on that alignment over the last 3 years?
Oh yeah.
I think you've heard me say this. There's no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life harmony.
Yeah.
It's all craziness, and you just have to.
Yeah, I heard you speak about that a few months after I spoke with, or I had a Q&A with Ed Milet, and it led me to understand the difference in kind of the different like quality versus quantity in time. You're going to spend 10 hours a day outside, working all day, but when you come home from work, you don't have to go spend 10 hours with your kids to like get that time back.
Sure.
But one thing I do is I leave my phone in my car, or when I walk in, I just set it down on the table, take off your watch if you've got like an Apple Watch or whatever, and just go hug your wife, give your wife a kiss, and go like spend that quality time with your kids. My kids are still young enough to where when I come in the door, they run up to me and want to see me. And it's a piece of heaven, man. And so I remember sitting out in the car or giving your kids like the one finger, like, hey, hold on. And they only last 1 or 2 minutes, and then they'll go back to doing whatever they were doing before you walked in the door. And so I try to share this message with everyone, because I feel like it literally changed my life doing that. And I had to set boundaries. There are people that I would talk to a lot on the way home from work, business partners and friends. And, I just told them, hey, when I get to my house, I'm just going to say, hey, I pulled in the driveway, and like, I'm going to hang up. Like, that just means I'm done talking to you. Like, my family's more important. And like, I'm not going to sit in the car and talk to, if it's like a, recruit or a business deal parked on the street, if something I can't just like hang up on them. But if it's like a friend or a buddy, a business partner, someone that's a lot closer relationship, I'm like, hey, I just pulled in the driveway, or hey, my kids are coming out by, and they're like, see ya. And what's cool is that they started doing it in their life. But it really set boundaries. And so now I come in and go, and my kids get to see me go and hug and kiss my wife and say hi to her, and then turn around and spend that quality time with them. And that first 15 to 20 minutes is like, it's beautiful. And after 15, 20 minutes, sometimes they're back to doing what they're doing. But I feel like having that like sacred time with them and in that 20 minutes is worth a family trip. Like, it's just so valuable.
No, what I see, I've caught myself. I mean, I'll sometimes even park in the garage and keep chatting, but then my goal is I don't walk into the house with that conversation happening. I hang up, leave my phone in the car, put it in my pocket or whatever.
Yeah.
Go say hi to everybody, spend an hour or so, and then I don't know if this happens to you, but then I have to get back. Not have to, but I get back into that business mode after I've done the whole.
There's times where
daddy's home thing.
It'll there's demands on a big update we're doing or whatever with the team. And having our team in India, they're 12-hour difference, so they're like there's work to do 24/7. I can work all day in AZ with the team, and then I can literally flip and work through the night. And I've done that. And when I travel, I usually will work till late in the night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, because my team's up and it's midday for them. And if I'm going to be away from my family traveling, like I try to take advantage of that time when I'm not distracting. Not because they're a distraction, but I'm not being. I'm not going to be waking them up, or I'm not spending time with my wife. I'm already out of the house. And so I look at that as like a sacrifice I can give to them to work, through the night and move the business so that I can not do that when I'm at home. But I as I've done this, phone down thing, it's just helped every day realign. And so now when my kids get in the car from baseball practice or picking my daughters up from tumbling or cheer or whatever it is, same concept. I try not to be on the phone. I'm not as perfect at that because sometimes I'm sitting there waiting for them to get done and I'm on a call or whatever. But I really try to get off the phone. So it's the same thing. They get in the car and I was like, hey, how was tumbling? And, my daughter's like, it was hard today. I had a headache or whatever. I'm like, I'm so proud of you for pushing through. I'm so proud of you for sticking through it. Let's go get you, some water. Let's go get you taken care of. Versus they get in the car to dad's on the phone and it's hold on. It's like, hey, hold on. Hey, this is a big deal. And they're being told basically they're not a big deal. And so they're excited to tell you about baseball, that they, hit a home run or they did good or they, they learned something new or they, landed their back tuck for the first time or they're getting better. And those are little wins. And so to celebrate them in that is kind of how it's evolved into any time that you're re-engaging with your family, not just when you walk in the door.
It's pretty, I'm proud of you. It's pretty awesome that you've learned this at such a young age. I'm 49, and I think I learned that lesson later than you've learned it, so props to you for learning it. I will tell you this, it does fortunately get better over time. As your business grows, matures, and you have more and more people that you can empower to handle a lot of that blocking and tackling that you're probably still dealing with, like it dissipates for sure, and the family time that you have available to you does improve, as I said, as your enterprise, scales. So from my vantage point, you can look forward to that.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, that's big. You're still super, you may feel a little bit older because of some of the people that you hang with, because I've seen, a lot of your employees.
Yeah.
But you're super young, and I'm proud of you for having the maturity of learning those lessons at such a young age. Your oldest is only 12, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's awesome. So keep with that discipline, keep with that philosophy. The business will always be there. And we can all, I'm an entrepreneur, the business needs me, I need to be Mr. CEO or Mrs. CEO, whatever. But you're replaceable at work, you're not replaceable at home.
Yeah.
And money is unlimited, whether you want to accept that notion or not. Time is what's limited. Yeah. Let me bring that point home. How old is Warren Buffett today?
90-something.
He's 90-something, right?
Yeah.
He's worth how many billions? A lot of billions.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, would you like to trade places with Warren Buffett today?
No.
How many years does he have left on average?
Under 10.
Under 10 years.
Yeah.
How many billions does he have left available? Hundreds of billions.
Yeah, unlimited, yeah.
Yeah. So again, time is limited, money is unlimited. Let's value the time that we have. And time is one of those assets that we really don't know what the balance is.
Yeah,
you can go on your checking account, you can go on your savings account, you can go on one of your business operating accounts, you can see what the balance is. You know what? And you kind of know what your accounts receivable are on time. We could be done tonight.
Yeah.
We just don't know. So again, really beautiful lesson, Brad. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And just like tons of communication with your spouse on
over-communicate.
The different times. Like you're saying, you don't know what your balance is or where you're at with time, but you can know through asking your spouse, like, hey, how am I doing? Let's check in. Like where,
I think some entrepreneurs or some husbands are scared of asking that question.
Yeah. The
answer that's coming.
At the beginning of this year, I set a goal to get up at 5 a.m. every day. And I still spend a lot of my time on the product side, which is for me, design, UI, UX. If I can control and help guide the front end of what our users are going to experience, then I can just pass off the in-between to the devs and they'll make it come to life. And so I'm like, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. That's 5 p.m., 5:30 in India, and that's where our designers are, and I'll work with them from 5 to 7. And then my kids get up around 7, do lunches, water bottles, all that stuff, and get them off to school. And it was hard on the mornings with my wife, like getting up in the mornings, and I'm on the call, and sometimes that'd turn into 7:05, and kind of that same concept. And so she's like, hey, can we cut that out and you can do that at a different time. And so I've adjusted and, so I thought, that was going to be some big breakthrough to get up early and to kind of knock that out and go into the office already having that kind of done for the day. But that didn't, meet my family's needs and her needs. And so we've just stayed really close on communication. And again, that's going to that quality time. Like I've been able to be more effective in the morning with the kids and be more helpful as I'm not distracted with this call leading up to the time with them.
And listen, as an entrepreneur, we're going 20 million miles an hour. I say this all the time, being an entrepreneur is escaping 1,000 deaths. It's just, you just never know what you're going to wake up to. You never know what you're going to go to bed to.
Yeah.
but we need to over communicate, because quite often, we just rush towards the solve, and we leave a lot of people, I use this phrase, but we leave a lot of dead bodies along the way because we don't communicate.
Yeah.
And then we hope that by default, or we assume that by default, our spouse or our kids know what we're going through or why these KPIs are important to us, but they have no idea because we don't communicate. So entrepreneurs, we need to do a better job at communicating and over communicating, and understanding that we have information bias, which means that because we know a certain something, we automatically by default assume that people know that same something. They don't. So
right.
over communicate.
Yeah, you got to over communicate. I used to always, another thing I've cut off is the nightly, pickleball runs or the dinner with the buddies or the Top Golf. I used to do that a lot. It starts with like the recruiting game and door-to-door sales. There's always something to do, or a recruiting meeting or whatever at night. It seems like that industry is filled with a lot of night activities. And so, I got in that habit over the years, and it kills your family time. It kills the time with your spouse. And so I've cut that out the last 2.5 years.
Can you have both? Can you have both though?
Yeah, you can. And I just totally went cold turkey for the better part of 1.5 years. But there since then, in the last 6-8 months, there's been times where there is something that pops up at night, and now I can go to my wife and say, hey, like this is what's going on. Like, do you care? It's kind of a networking thing or a business thing. And she understands that there's true value in it for me in the business. And she understands versus it being like, hey, the buddies are going to play pickleball. And the next night they want to go to Top Golf. The next night we're going to BJ's to the restaurant. And the next night it's the NCAA championship. And the next night it's like it never stops.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing that 2 or 3 times a week, like I challenge you to talk with your spouse and just say, hey, what can I do? What can I shift or change or adjust? And she'll know, and just do it and do it for. So I kind of reset that boundary where I went cold turkey and just cut it out of my life for a good 1.5 years. So now if I ask her, hey, this is what's going on, it's like, cool, yeah, like we're on the same page.
It's warranted.
And it's warranted, and it feels so good for me too. Communication, just really figuring out where that boundary is.
Saying that it's true. I mean, every night it was something. Hey, can you meet with this group? Can you go to this event? Can you speak here? Can you do this? And your first response is, I got to do this for the business. If not, they won't be able to.
Yeah, if not, it's not going to work
without me. And they can. They'll be just fine without you.
Yeah, it actually has helped me empower and delegate with my team. It's been a beautiful thing. So lots of credit goes to my wife for the growth of the business, and obviously all the people that work within the walls of RepCard too. But she always gives a different perspective, kind of understanding it and hearing me talk about it, but also like not being in the thick of it. And she'll make one comment, and I'm like, oh, yep, you're right.
Okay, final question. I wish we'd keep going, but the clock has struck 12 on the show here. Last piece of advice, anything you want to send us off with? Could be in entrepreneurship, it could be in work-life harmony, it could be anything. It could be social, it could be intellectual, physical, spiritual, whatever. How do you want to send us off?
Man, I guess I'll just say something that comes to mind on the business side. I was asked one time at the end of a podcast, describe success in 2 words or less. And the 2 words that came to my mind were daily execution. And so for you entrepreneurs out there that sometimes feel like you're being productive or busy and you're kind of back and forth, just look at the game plan that your business has and execute daily on it. Be consistent and do that every day, and you'll look back over the course of a month, 2 months, 3 months, and have a lot of big wins. So just that daily execution on your game plan.
Beautiful. Love it. Tons of gems, tons of phenomenal best practices. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential. Figure out what things rang true to you and apply those principles into your life, not just in business, but in personal life and marriage, as a father, as a mother. Like, be that whole person, be that triple double in life. Much love to you guys. Thanks again for being on the show, my man.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate you, man.